we have one more that joined just now, and I think we can start out of respect to everyone's time. And I'd like to kick off our roundtable and forum for knowledge sharing and best practices for a very exciting part of the mobile business, which is the photo editing applications. And here at ironSource, we're very excited to be part of the growth of this sub-genre within the market. My name is Or Shahar, and I am here on behalf of ironSource, managing the US activity and specifically focused globally on ironSource's value proposition for applications such as photo editing applications. And I'm very, very excited to take part of this panel. The rest of the panelists will introduce themselves as they start their section. And I wanted to start by sharing our perspective on why we're focusing on photo editing apps here at ironSource. Why do we believe it's worth building the community, the technology, and sharing the best practices? So the first part, and as I will show you also from some public information, this sector and this subgenre is seeing high growth across the globe, with various developers and many new applications coming into the market and are able to succeed in growing it. The second part is the creativity, and we're fascinated by the amount of new features, new elements of the photo or video editing proposition that are coming out, and every day, every app that we look at, we see something new, and that's an indication for the potential and the attractiveness to users. The third is that we identified that us as a community for the photo editing application have the need or have a gap when it comes to knowledge sharing, and we would like to facilitate in closing that gap. And I believe that this forum and many others that will run can definitely support that. With respect to gaming, we believe that there's a high potential for importing various practices from the gaming market to the photo editing applications. Part of it will be gamification of the application, and part of it will be related to monetization practices or user acquisition practices. Combining all of that with the experience that also we have on the gaming side, we believe that there's value here to discuss and share that. And lastly, we see that there's a tremendous amount of scale, potential scale here, and hopefully together we can build that community, share the knowledge, and find those sweet spots for scaling it. Quote below, I thought it resonates well with the value that we're talking about here. One thing that I wanted to highlight is a public report shared from Sensor Tower, I think about a month ago or a few weeks ago, showing and specifically focusing on the photo and video application. And these two graphs here are one illustration of the potential scale and the ability of such applications, your applications, to grow in the market. And we can see that it's not just one type of application. If you break it down to sub-genres, there are different types of value propositions, and each of them is able to grow and find its way either on the App Store or on Google Play. I very much, if anyone didn't get access to that report, we're more than happy to share it, or of course through Sensor Tower, and I imagine that you'll find it very interesting. With respect to today's, right, in the spectrum of things that we could focus on, we've decided to highlight and focus on three main things that we think will have value and be a good basis for us for a further discussion. The first one is on LTV modeling, specifically for such application where monetization includes subscription elements, in a purchase or ads, or all of the above. rewarded video as an ad implementation practice that we are very confident has the ability to generate a competitive edge for an app that is, or a photo editing app that is choosing to utilize that. And Justin will share with us a few practices there. And lastly, we'll speak about creatives and the power of creatives in the competitive market for user acquisition. And hopefully you'll find each of these sessions interesting and you can learn from it and use it as a basis for future discussions. We very much hope that this will be one of the first steps for building the community, and I hopefully you'll feel comfortable sharing both questions, practices, and anything else that comes to mind. And of course, let's make sure we have fun together. So from here, I'll hand it over to Shahar. He'll introduce himself and take it from here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shahar Arias. I've been with ironSource for the past 8 years now, doing different roles along the way, mostly around data and BI. Currently, I'm the Director of Growth Analysis, located here in San Francisco office, focusing a lot on the non-gaming genre this year, and very excited to share some LTV modeling and optimization ideas with you. Cool. Do I have access? Let's see if I can control the slides. It looks like I can. Do you want to move a slide over? It looks like I'm not able to control it. Okay, cool. One up. Okay, so we're going to start by addressing why is LTV important? Why do we need it? So the honest answer, we usually don't really need the lifetime value of our users. Trying to reach that value will take huge efforts and resources, and we usually won't have much use for it. LTV by itself is not really a goal, but it's more of a tool that can help us reach our goal. For the vast majority of our use cases, what we actually need is a projection for our ARPU curve for about 6 months for most developers, and up to 2 or even 3 years for some of the more wealthier developers out there that can afford looking so far ahead. The reason we need this LTV curve is business 101. We need to know our income so we can plan our expenses and build our budgets, plan for our UA and so on. UA, development and operations, and any other business expense we might have. Our LTV projection enables us to plan for these expenses and guide us through them. LTV can also help us with many other aspects of our business. For example, LTV is a very good metric to use for comparing different variants of an A/B test that we're running, or to measure the potential effect on our business when making product changes, and so on. Now, there are many aspects to consider when building our LTV curve, but I want to focus on a few of them that can really help us beat our competition. Some of them are even on this call, and hopefully highlight some ideas you might not find when you Google LTV best practices. So let's get started. Breaking down the LTV. So when trying to make a projection of our ARPU curve, it's important to understand the natural behavior of each monetization component. Most photo editors will have subscriptions in them, but we're seeing more and more apps in this space and in similar genres that are starting to integrate other forms of monetization into their apps. When done right, this hybrid mode can have a massive impact on the app's monetization and be the secret to its success. And Justin will elaborate on this more. Basically, this is because it allows us to approach more users and monetize them in a way that fits their preferences better. It's better to make $1, even $0.50 from a user we would otherwise make $0 from, regardless of the value that this user gets from our app. If 95% of our users that we're paying so much for are generating $0 and are now we're able to generate even $0.50 from them, this translates to a significant amount of money that we can reinvest back into our business and eventually increase our LTV. So even if if one of these monetization component is only 10% of our revenue, we must include it in our model. If we don't, we are likely buying towards the wrong goal and are losing major business because of it. An additional 10% to our LTV or to our bid can translate to an increase of even 50% in scale in some cases. And I've seen it happen more frequently than not. So when building our LTV curve, we have to keep in mind the different behavior of these components, meaning ads and IAPs in purchases will usually follow a logarithmic trend line. If any of you ever done an LTV curve or tried to build a curve out of your ARPU curve, usually these monetization components will follow a logarithmic trend line, which is correlated with most apps' retention curves. It makes sense. This is because the action that the user needs to take is the actual purchase. So we need the user in our app to perform this action. So if the users are not in our app or churning, we can't retain them. They're not going to be monetized by ads or in-app purchases. With subscriptions, however, it will usually follow a power curve, actually, in most cases that I've seen, which is the reason for it is because it's conversely correlated with most apps' subscription churn. We actually prefer the lack of action here for subscription. So if with ads and in-app purchases, we needed the user to make an action, with subscription, assuming the user subscribed, we actually prefer him to not make an action. So the curvature of these different models is, therefore, it's different from each other. So we need to take that into account when building our curves. Now, if our app does actually offer some kind of hybrid mode, including more than one component, we should be aware of that and model accordingly. So in short, what we need to do, we should separate the curves for each component while making our trend lines, then stack them together after to have a more accurate prediction. And I will share an example of how it looks like in a moment. But why is this important? Using the wrong projection model for our function will lead us to the wrong LTV. With the wrong LTV, we might be buying at a loss while thinking we're actually buying profitably, or vice versa, which is also not fulfilling our potential. Either way, it can be very harmful to our business. Let's go with slide. So, okay, here I took an example of an app that monetizes with ads and weekly and monthly subscriptions. And this is how it looks like in terms of the measured ARPU. So we ran UA for about 70 days, a little bit more, and we can see 70 days of ARPU here. These are all users from the US, and it's broken down to our different components. You can see it here. Now, we want to know when we expect to see our money back. So we need to make a projection for our ARPU. Now we'll use Excel's amazing cool tool called Trendline to create that. Let's go slide. And you can see it here. And we're adding one for each component. Each monetization component will get its own trend line. As we've discussed, for the ad ARPU, we'll use a logarithmic trend line, or for the subscription curves, we will use a power trend line and project. Here we took 110 days forward, so we'll have a total of 180 days. And we can see the ad ARPU has a very good fit. And so we have very high confidence in it. We see that it reaches about 15 cents after 180 days, and we can be pretty rest assured that that's going to be the case. It might be more, it might be less, obviously, but we're very confident it will be around that number. Sorry, go back. So the weekly subscription curve also has a pretty good fit, but we should update our curve frequently to make sure we don't fall below our predicted line. For the monthly curve, it's not so great, but it's not so bad as well. We can decide to go with this, or if we prefer, we can use a linear curve even and average it out with this one, for example. But for the sake of our example, let's just go with the power curve, the way that you see it here. Now what's left to do is just stack them all together, and we'll get something like this. Can you move the slide? One before. Yeah, okay. So the curves here are stacked together, and the vertical line here separates them from our measured ARPU to our predicted ARPU. So you can see that at day 180, we're expecting to have an ARPU of about $1.2, and we can start buying UA much more effectively. Had we not done this, had we looked at all the revenue together, combined, and make some kind of logarithmic prediction, we would get to a very different number than the 120, and that would cause us to make probably bad decisions for our business. Okay, that's it for this part. Now I want to talk about choosing the optimal cohorts for whatever our goal is. Yeah, that's the. Okay, so building our curve based on a cohort of users that come from a campaign on Facebook, for example, targeting photo editors, professionals in Canada, could help us for our UA in Google, in a campaign targeting the US. But it's definitely not going to be a perfect fit. These users are not going to behave the same. And there are some things that we should take into account. One, the actual value will probably be higher for the US. By how much we can use other internal or external information we have. For example, we know that the LTV of users in the US is usually 30% higher than our other tier 1 countries. And two, if our goal is to buy effectively, we can assume the same curvature of the LTV in both geos, so that our ROAS goal would actually be the same until we have more data that will suggest otherwise. So we can go with one assumption, start buying, and adjust it as we go. So what should we do if we don't have a big enough cohort that will fit whatever our goal is? We can expand that cohort with adjacent lookalike cohorts and make the assumption of how much to increase or decrease our curve based on the weight of each cohort in our pie of cohorts. It's okay to go with your gut on these assumptions, choosing a percentage of increase or decrease you feel comfortable enough with. For example, US LTV feels like it should be 30% higher to your app. For your app, go for it. Once we start using our new LTV for whatever our goal is, we will make adjustments along the way based on the new data that is coming in. And that way mitigate the risk of using these assumptions. Next slide. Okay. So these are the topics I wanted to cover. Due to lack of time, there are many other topics to cover, obviously, when talking about LTV. Here are some of them. Feel free to send in the chat if you have any questions specifically to what I've talked about or what you see here. Let's go over it real quickly. So other stuff we can cover is how to technically build an LTV curve if you don't have experience with it. Breaking down the revenue to install day and event day, and the other technical difficulties around that. Benchmarking, being genre-oriented, and it can be misleading when using benchmarks. If we go online, Google stuff, what is the churn, what is usually the churn of subscription, and go with the benchmark. It is a good guidance, but it could be very misleading, so we need to keep that in mind. Using different kinds of thresholds when building our LTV, using minimum amount of users to base our prediction on, and revenue events like purchases, ad revenue, subscription events, and which ones to include in our model and how. Some things to avoid, like having, as an example, having insufficient data for a specific cohort, building an LTV curve based on not enough revenue and subscription events, for example. And there are so many other things to take into account, like seasonality, changes in the market in terms of competitions, iOS ATT, which we all know about, and there are many more. Cool. Now we have some time for questions, comments.
Feel free to either chat, send it in the chat, or also afterwards, and us and Shachar specifically would be happy to review specifically your LTV methodology so far and how we can make it more sophisticated. Cool. All right. Thank you, Shahar.
Thank you.
Oh,
yes.
There we go. Hey guys, great being with you today. My name is Justin Norman, and I've been with ironSource for a little over 8 years now. I've led a number of different business roles. Right now, I'm the director of product strategy based out of our US office. So basically that means I help our partners understand how to best utilize our different products that we offer, as well as help our product team create better, more useful products for our partners. So today, we chose to focus on rewarded video, one of the ad units that we feel is severely underutilized in this space. And so we can go ahead and move to the next one, or please. So why we chose to focus on rewarded video is really, it's kind of looked at as the magic or magical ad unit, and I'll get into that a little bit. But really, when we're looking at the photo editing space, and these numbers may differ from what you guys see or have, but the general idea is the same, that most of the applications are subscription based, and the majority, if not all, revenue comes from subscriptions. But there's a steep fall off of users that are actually going to subscribe and maintain long-term in the application with a subscription. So as Shahar was describing, like the process of acquiring users it's a long process, right? So you want to make sure that those users that you have acquired, that you're properly engaging them, and hopefully converting as many as you can into these subscribers. So bumping this number from 7 up to whatever we can push it to. So that's the goal of the rewarded video ad unit. Can move on to the next one, please, Or. So just to give a general baseline of what the ad unit is for some of those that may not be familiar with it. So rewarded video is it's a fully user opt-in ad unit, meaning that they get to decide when and where and how they want to engage with the ad unit in exchange for some in-app reward. In the gaming space, of course, there's currencies and things like that. In the photo editing space and in social utility space, there are things that can be unlocked or give a preview of premium content to after the user completes the view, right? So there's no obligation for the user to make a further engagement with the advertisement. The reward occurs after the completed view. So there's that value exchange there, which go on to the next one, please, Or. So why rewarded video, and why is it kind of the magical ad unit, as I mentioned? So it is user initiated, as I already said. And again, users get to pick and choose if and when they want to engage with the ad unit, giving it a very positive user experience. And the idea that it's integrated as part of an application's core functionality. So it's an additive feature, right? It's a feature within the application itself, whereas other ad units are not, right? Like like an interstitial may be shown kind of out of nowhere or within a general break or change in screen, but it's not really a part of the function of the application. Again, if we're rewarding something for it, it is an integrated part of the use of the application. And it has a lot of positives for the application as well. So just general engagement, right? A user is doing more within the application than they would have done if they didn't have rewarded video. You can create different elements of the application that are designed specifically to get users to engage with rewarded video. We have a lot of examples of people doing such things. Retaining users, right? If they're able to unlock some level of content within an application, you're going to retain them as a vast. We know if everything is behind a subscription, or majority of the quality content is behind a subscription, you're going to lose that user that you spent so much time and effort acquiring. Similarly, the length in which a user is going to stay within your application, right? Try new features, do new things, is increased due to rewarded video. And then we'll get into this a little bit, but the probability to convert that user to a subscription base, right? So a user understands the quality of the application, the value that different elements of the app provides to them, and they really get sort of hooked on it, right? So as opposed to continue watching rewarded video, they make the conversion into a subscription. And then the ad unit itself can be very customizable. So that's anything from the videos that a user sees, the type, the style, also anything around segmentation, who sees it, where they see it, so different segmentation models and things like that. Okay, next slide, please, Or. There we go. So what I was, back one, please. Just elaborating on that a little bit. So really, it's sort of a win-win-win ad unit for all parties involved, right? So as I mentioned, for the user, it's opt-in. They are willing to engage and get the value. There's a value exchange for them, right? Again, it's not just surfacing an ad unit out of nowhere. They see the value in watching the video and getting something in return. So it creates a positive user experience. For the developer, as I mentioned, increased engagement, increased retention, and of course, ultimately revenue from both the ad unit and the revenue generated from that, as well as the potential subscription revenue down the line. And one thing that we didn't talk about yet was the advertiser, obviously an important element to this, right? So What the advertiser gets from this is a very quality engaged user, right? The user will complete a view, right? So 15 to 30 seconds, right? That's huge from an advertiser's perspective to have that user's attention for that amount of time. And it's a positive brand association for the advertiser as well. And they reach high quality users. So ultimately, what does that mean if we take it back to like the developer's perspective and revenue? Is the CPMs associated with rewarded video are typically much higher than you would get from any other ad unit. Okay, next one, please, Or. So I mentioned, oh, yeah, there we go. Skipping around a little bit, it's all right, no problem. So yeah, just kind of speaking to what we've seen, and these are all over different reviews on the different stores, and really people's experience with or let's say negative experience with an application because they don't want to pay for this subscription. Now, some people are going to be obviously fairly harsh and give 0 stars, but the issue, of course, is store ranking, your optimization, and just further downloads people see your reviews, right? So when you have these sorts of things that you can potentially mitigate by having the rewarded video, giving these people the content that they very much want. You can see the top one here was very much looking forward to using the app, but is unwilling to pay. Harsh with the last sentence there, but nonetheless, if this user was able to get some level of content, I think they would have a better experience, give a better rating, and overall would increase your ASO. The middle person here is a kid. They don't have the revenue, right, or the money to pay for something like this, right? So again, to what Shahar said earlier, some is better than none. This person, no hard feelings, like she says at the end, but would definitely, it seems like some person that would happily engage with an ad in order to get the content. And then same thing with the last person. We don't have to go into it, but yes, they not a 5-star review, which is what I was hoping for, and so believe the ability to engage with the content through ads would likely increase their experience within the application. Next slide, please. So there you go. So the impact, as I mentioned earlier, trying to get users to convert to subscription is the ideal situation, right? That's really what the application is meant for. You're going to be your main revenue driver, of course. And we see here that applications that are fairly, we'll say, aggressive with showing or having the ability to unlock a lot of different content through 5 or more rewarded videos have a much higher likelihood or percentage of users that are converted into subscription down the line than ones that have just one. So obviously the takeaway here is that we want users to get as much content from the start so that they can see the value, right? You've created a great application with a lot of amazing content to it, right? Allowing users to see how good that experience is within the application. You have a much higher probability of converting them into a subscribed user. Next slide, please, Laura. So this is taking into account both the average revenue per daily active user through rewarded video that we see. So this is our data. But what's really important here is the retention, right? So being able to retain these users over a longer period of time because of their interaction with the ad unit itself, right? So if we take this like in no contrast to other ad units, interstitial, you might see a negative impact on retention. You still have positive ARPDAU over time, right? Because you're generating revenue on them, but you're not maintaining them for as long as you could or should within the application, because you know, it's that you know, it's that forced view that and the inability to unlock content. Those two things combined have a negative impact on retention. So that's what we're showing here. So what does that look like? Talked about how good it is, but how do we do it within an application, right? So here are a few potential examples, right, of applications with some premium content that can be, you know, very easily unlocked with rewarded videos. So we have what we call the traffic driver, or the button that a user would press, right, at a normal time, where you would potentially try to re-engage that user with a subscription. They can have a you know, a small amount of the content through the rewarded video product here. So it's a UI that is built through through the application itself, and then again through the traffic driver, the rewarded video is opened and begins to play. Next slide, please. Or all right, so what does rewarded video typically look like, and some of the metrics that we are looking at? So as I mentioned earlier, non-skippable, or usually non-skippable. This is, you are able to control this as the publisher, defining, you know, can a user skip after a certain amount of time? That is all controllable. But from a you know, thinking back to what we were talking about with the win-win-win situation, where we have the user getting something, the advertiser getting something, and the developer getting something. Usually the fully non-skippable performs the best in that scenario. Average engagement. So engagement rate is the percentage of your daily active users that are going to engage with this ad unit, right? So 35% is sort of a baseline that that we can see. Again, because it's fully user opt-in, you know, there may be a large portion of users that don't. And how well you optimize this within your application can vary, right? So we see applications that have engagement rate of 80%, right? So this can vary, but this is sort of our baseline of what we typically see. Usage rate is the number of impressions that an average person that engages with rewarded video is going to watch or should watch as a baseline. So thinking back to that 5+ number of rewarded videos, and how we would likely be able to, or more likely be able to, convert that user to a subscription, that really is in that range. And then just the, you know, taking the total number of impressions per user within the application is about 1.5. Okay. Average revenue per impression is around 2 cents in the US. So fairly significant. And the ARPDAU contribution from rewarded video, again, combining all of your daily active users, is 3.2 cents. All right, so what type of ads are going to be shown within the game? So there's a lot of just, you know, brand recognition content, right, that will align with the user's interest within your application. But there are also, you know, gaming, and, you know, everybody's a gamer nowadays too. So we see this as a, you know, a great avenue for showing gaming advertisements as well. So things like puzzle, word, and match 3 titles here, ones that you guys are probably familiar with, but there are many different advertisers out there. Next slide, please. Okay, Cool. So the key takeaways here, and there's a lot of different things that we can get into about rewarded video, how to best implement it, from just best practices standpoint, who to show it to, when to show it to them. There's a lot of different stuff that that we can discuss. But again, for the sake of time, we'll just narrow it down to a few. So as we know, most users will not subscribe. And we think that that's potentially okay, especially if they don't subscribe at first. We could potentially convert them to a subscriber down the road. But if they don't subscribe at all, and they do watch 5 rewarded videos a day, and you're retaining that user long term because of that ability, they can still generate a significant amount of revenue for you. It's not just rewarded video is not just another ad format, right? It's the magical ad format that helps retain users and convert users. It's a tool in your bag to help, as I said, retain users and continue engaging with them in the application. And exposing them, like I said, can open up more avenue for subscriptions. All right, I think that's it. Open for any comments about rewarded video, any questions. If you're curious, let me know.
Thank you, Justin, and definitely a part of the monetization optimization in the photo editing sector that we believe is going to grow and generate a competitive edge. So we're looking forward for some creative implementations and integration of this tool. Thank you, Justin. And Shai, feel free to take it away.
So speaking about creative, I might have some internet connection, so just to say hello to everybody and introduce myself, and then I will shut down the video. So my name is Shai Elkobi. Everybody said they are in ironSource for 8 years, so I guess 8 is the magic number, but for me, just 8 months. I'm the new guy here. Coming actually from the user acquisition world, so in the last 6 years, I've been doing a lot of user acquisition months, focusing on creative on iron Studio. I'm leading the squad of the non-gaming genre, which focusing on apps such as we are speaking today and every other apps that are non-gaming, such as fintech, utility, creativity, no longer an option. Okay, we all know that we need to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. Lots of players in this photo editing market, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how creative is going to help us solve this problem. Next slide, please. Oh, can you go to the next slide? Cool. So the first thing I want to talk about is one feature per creative, okay? And why I'm saying that. A lot of us think that, okay, we created a magnificent app. We have tons of feature in this app. We can do everything, like Photoshop in your hand, right? So we want to show the user how all of those feature works for us, how amazing the app that we built. But I say to you guys, I'm showing you here 2 examples of actually mistakes that we did in the past. We wanted to show the user how amazing our app, how can we remove an object, how can we change the background, how can we put makeup, how can we change the lipstick. All of that stuff in one 15 seconds ad on Facebook or 20. It's not the case. What we want to do is keep it simple. Next one, or here's a great ad that we did, and look at it. The only thing we did here is focusing on the color. we identify a trend, her hair, her lips, her shirt. These ads actually work much better than the other ones, and we want to drive users to our app. This is a great way to drive those users and then showing them all of the feature. So keep it simple. Next slide. This one is going to be an open discussion, so I would love it if you guys can comment even on the chat. If you can find a common feature on all of these eye blasting ads that I put here. So I will give it just 30 seconds. Let's see if anybody has an idea. And if not, I'm going to. Cool. So I'll tell you what's happening here. So as you can see, what we see here is a remove object. Okay, we identify that removing object wait, someone is, let's see. So yeah, Jeff said, you're exactly right. Remove an object. Okay, this is the feature we identify worked really good for us. Okay, works for every app that we promoted in this genre. So we created tons of ads, actually focusing in all kind of aspects. Something from your COVID covering mask from the grass. So this is something that I really want to, I think you guys need to focus on. Find the feature that works best in your app. Find this best feature and show it in your ad. This will drive user engagement much more than showing how amazing your app with all kind of feature. Another thing that I'm going to talk about here is the sound. Okay, we all know that sound is very important, though a lot of people are sound off on all of their ads. But still, we identified that on the gaming genre, robotic sound work really good. So instead of just finding a narrator that will talk about the ad, finding an influencer, which costs a lot of money, robotic voice, and it works amazing. This is seen in gaming and now working. Or can you go to the next slide, please?
Yes.
One back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So again, talking about the trends. Okay, so we all know that everybody is now on TikTok. Kid with a phone can take a photo, shoot a video, edit it, upload it, and create a different trend. So this is something we really need to consider. On the left ad that you can see, we identify a great trend of people changing with video editing. So this is something we created and worked really good. Colors is something you really need to emphasize, okay? What kind of colors people are talking about right now. As you can see, this pineapple swamp ad that we created are talking in a language of a specific color that we see trending around. And let's talk about data to what we are talking now, but still we identify this funny face talking. Even McDonald's are using it on their ads. So this is something you can easily duplicate to your ads on these photo apps, and it looks like a trend. So let's say user scrolling down the feed and something similar to the feed. Next slide.
Is it?
I don't know if it's not moving on. So use real people. Yeah, I don't know how much of you are familiar with the video that I'm showing here on the left, okay? But this was really trendy about a year ago. So we try to use it in one of our ads. Another one we try to use is using dogs, but no, use real people. People are looking for connections. Okay, they want to see something they can relate to. So we identified the people work best. Whatever concept you are creating, try how we need to grab user attention in the first 2 seconds. Show real person. Next one. Okay, this is something really interesting. I really want to talk about ad store to ads. This is a nice case study we did with AnyLight, one of the developers. We find out that using picture or in the ads and in the store simultaneously works really good. Think about it. The user see an ad, he expects to see something similar when going to the store. So we see here actually a vice versa idea that we had. On one hand, putting an ad that looks like the store, so people can relate to it. People are actually seeing a store ad, and this is actually look exactly like the Google store. So this drives a lot of attention from the user, and this is exactly something you want to use. When we use different photos and try to show the user a lot of stuff and a lot of different people, it didn't work. We want to show them the exact same thing. Next one. Okay. Know your audience. This one is really important. We all know that we target on Facebook and other places based on behavior and interested. Look at the free ads from the left. Okay, all look the same, and I give you a second to look on all of them. And if you can identify what's the difference in each ad, you can also write it on the chat. And if not, I'm going to tell you that on the left one, we are focusing on travel. On the next one, we are focusing on food. And the next one, on workout. So different people want different stuff. Before you create an ad, think of your audience. Okay? Not all people download the photo editing apps because they want to take picture of their food or take picture of them working out. Okay? Different people look for different stuff. So very important to make different ads and actually seeing people different stuff. On the next one, we can also see it, okay? The first one is focusing about makeup. The other one is actually targeting influencer on Instagram. So doing cool stuff with the feed. This app is actually for perfecting your feed. Next one. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we are doing here at Playworks and for ironSource. Okay, so on Facebook, we all know we are creating videos. Playable ads is not something so appealing on Facebook. It's not something a lot of people use. But on our network, actually interactive ads are really important. And like Justin said before on rewarded video, people expect to see a video and then they are playing a game, right? So think of you playing a game. The first thing, let's take a tapper, for example. We all know tappers. You have to tap a lot in order to play the game, right? After you tap a lot, you see a video. The first thing you do is tap. You're looking for the X button, okay? What interactive ads are doing is actually helping you not pressing the X button, okay? They want to show you a different aspect. They want to show you a different aspect on the ad. You can press on different features on the ad. So as you can see, a lot of examples from different apps, photo editing apps, Snapchat that are also working with us. So moving forward, I will talk about playable ads that even taking the interactive to a different level. Next one. Okay, so playable ads. This is a very cool case that we did. So before I was talking about creating different feature and showing different feature on your app, right? So here on the playable, we did a very nice test of taking a few features and separating for different playable ads. On the left side, you can see on the remove object, you can see the hint of showing the user where to press. This hint is very important. Instead of pressing the X button and actually removing the ad and going back to playing his game, we are seeing him, okay, let's press on the object. Let's see what's happening. And on the other one, also beauty, okay? Let's retouch her face. Let's put lipstick on her lips. Let's remove the background. Let's add different background. So here we can also test our feature on the app, see what feature works best inside the ad and not just inside the app itself. And also get engagement from the user. We want him to engage with the ad and then engage with our app. It actually increases the chances of him downloading the app, and we will see it later on with a few numbers that I collected. Next one. Here I'm showing you more example of playable ads that actually imitating a video. Okay, so it's easy to think that what we are seeing here is a video, but actually the user is pressing and then creating his own video within this playable ad. So think how engaging it is. You see a rewarded video, the video is interesting for you, then you actually participating in editing this video, in creating, let's say on the right one, we are talking about Jiggy. So creating a cool dance with your face on all kind of emojis. So this one is actually taking you and giving you an opportunity to actually explore the app before even downloading it. Next one. So here I want to talk about a little bit about the numbers. And this is actually a benchmark that we are seeing here. Like I said, we are promoting on ironSource, also on other social media like Facebook and TikTok. So I collected a few numbers to you to review actually. And if people are seeing different numbers with their app, it will be happy. I will be happy to open a discussion and understand what you guys are doing, what we are doing good or not. A few things I want to talk about is the metrics. So obviously we all know CTR, CVR, and IPM. Another thing that we are seeing is full view. And we are actually seeing that if people seeing or completing the whole video, their chances of downloading the app, it's actually decreasing. Okay, so this is another thing you need to consider and can actually help you with your user acquisition efforts. I want you to look on the middle column on ironSource, okay? Rewarded video compared to interstitial, compared to playable. Look on the engagement rate on the playable. Like I said before, people want to engage when they are playing a game, we are doing something, even playing with their feed. We need to grab their attention with an engagement, okay? Not just seeing something and actually doing something. And this is something we can support really good. Next one. So key takeaways, all the things that we talked about today. So identify your best feature and use it. Like I said, if remove background works for you best, use it. Use it to attract user to the app. Then in the app, show them all of your capabilities. But first, just grab their attention by the things that working best, not only in your app, but actually trending around. Follow the trends. Small changes will prevent creative decay. Okay, a really nice case that we saw on TikTok for us is actually changing the brush of removing an object from red to green. So our creative was actually stopped working. We just changed the brush and everything was working much better. Another thing, you're removing a person from a photo. Use the same photo and remove someone else. Again, you give your creative an opportunity to actually last longer. People are looking for connection. Like I said before, you want to show real people in your ads. This is very important. Not all users are the same. Use workout, sorry. Use ads focusing on food. Use ads focusing on people talking with each other. Whatever you think is engaging within your app. And most importantly, playable are not just for games. Okay, you are looking for engagement. The way to use to drive engagement from user is giving them the opportunity to engage with your app in the ad. Make your ad a game, a small taste of what your next one.
Cool.
So I don't see the next one, but this is the time for questions. And of course, everybody can approach and talk.
Perfect. Thank you, Shai. Really appreciate it. And definitely a lot of creative doing that came from us, but also from developers that we work with for their creative doing on social channels, on SDK networks, with influencers, etc. And hopefully we can continue and explore all of these as we continue the discussion. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the ironSource and we'll dive into what I hope will be a mutual discussion in the future, which is around the product that we build. For us, the vision in our day-to-day is about building empowerment through our product, right? That will allow to generate more revenue through data enrichment and optimization technology. That's our platform. That's our journey. We try to do it through connecting various solutions, right? From maybe I'll use that slide better. From managing the user acquisition side, from the creative side that we've just discussed, from the monetization side of optimization, A/B testing, and different segmentation capabilities, and through the type of partnership that we manage with our partner, right? From testing marketability to supporting growth, to becoming commercial partner, etc., etc. And for us, all of this is what we're trying to do is to think where within our product we also provide a tailored solution for the photo editing applications. And what I've done is I've listed a couple of ideas, and what I want is to use this as a call to action for everyone, and feel free to approach me directly around it on things that matter and you think that are missing in the market or missing for you, and also share with you what we think is relevant. So the first part is all around, we spoke about the optimization, the user acquisition side, right? And everything around optimization tools, from LTV modeling to the target CPA optimization, how to take a subscription environment, a subscription monetizing app, and turn it into a user acquisition machine. And as we've shared here, the ability to do that can make or break an app from turning into a successful business at scale. The one thing that we've identified across the market, from talking to hundreds of developers, is the challenge of optimizing the first-time user experience flow, right? The onboarding to the application. We believe that a lot of the efforts in order to improve the funnel, to perfect the funnel, should be around those 24, 48 hours. And that can be solved through various types of A/B testing and various types of creative testing and various types of ideas that you bring to surface in order to perfect that onboarding side. So we, on the product side, and also in our journey as your partners, are looking to solve that problem. The second is around A/B testing. You know, when comparing to the gaming market, we believe that the quote unquote sophistication level that can be generated through types of tests that are running can definitely grow. and we can find more ways, we can and should find more ways to do that. When it comes to the paywall specifically, it would be around pricing, the different pricing models, the placement, where do you show it, who do you show it, and of course the design itself. Some of you are using subscription validation and management, which is something that is definitely growing within the market. We've heard from several photo editing application developers that we work with around the screenshot protection, as I call it, the screenshot utilization of users before subscribing to application. That's something that we would love to learn more of and potentially find solutions for. Localization as an opportunity for ones that localize either content or, of course, the user acquisition side, the campaigns, but also some of the content, the paywall, and even some of the flow of the application based on different locales. And lastly, and this is what makes me most proud and happy and motivated working with and for ironSource, is the fact that we really want to listen to your wish list and tailor our product roadmap towards what you think matters the most. And I would love to hold like specific conversations with each and every one from this community that we're building, and potentially find the next big product that should help us emerge. So yeah, so hopefully this information has been interesting and you had some fun. And this will be a beginning of a discussion and growing our relationship. And I really, really appreciate your time. And for our panelists, and we'll see you on the next session for photo editing apps. Thank you so much for listening.